Today's episode is a little different because I'm not the only one doing the interviewing. Jess Turner is here to flip the script and ask me the questions. Jess and I go way back. We started as baby marketers together in my very first job, and she's been alongside me every evolution of my career since. She's seen the highs, the lows, the what am I even doing with my life moments. So there's truly no better person to have this conversation with. She's now a fractional product strategist with over 15 years of experience, helping over 50 startups and businesses turn big ideas into real scalable products. But today, she's here to help me unpack my own journey, the moments I thought I hated marketing, what actually was going on, and how I shifted into work that I truly love. Because here's the thing, if you've ever thought, I hate marketing, you're not alone. I've been there more than once. But every single time, it wasn't marketing itself that I hated, it was the wrong job, wrong boss, or doing work that didn't align with what I loved. In this episode, Jess and I are breaking down the biggest reasons marketers feel stuck and how to know if it's marketing you hate or just your role, how I recognized misalignment and made the changes into a career and business that I actually love, and what to do if you're feeling uninspired or burnt out, whether that means pivoting like Jess did or redefining your work like I did. If you've ever questioned your career path, this episode will help you figure out what's really going on and what to do about it. Let's dive in. Jess, I'm so excited you're here on my podcast. Okay, so I'm going to dive in. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and then I will pass the microphone to you. So we started our marketing careers together. What do you remember about our first job?
I wasn't expecting to send the envelope. I think it was a mix of just jumping in and not knowing what to expect. And it was just so amazing to get to work with you, my bestie.
It was so fun.
And yeah, it's just a lot of trial and error. You have no idea what to expect. University really doesn't prepare you for what the real world is like.
Not at all. I totally agree. You moved into product strategy partway through your career while I stayed in marketing. What made you realize that marketing was not for you?
I don't think it was a specific thing. I think it was a series of events. So I had been doing generalist marketing, and then I fell into a marketing analyst role working at an agency. The agency I was at was like, hey, we need a product strategist. And I was like, what the heck is that? I'm going to take that on. I'll just jump in. But then once I found that thing, it was like a light bulb went and it just clicked. I love that part of we have this idea. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know how to bring it to life, and just being that intersection between that and then design and development, bringing it to life. So that play and then somebody else can bring it to life.
I love it. I feel like there was a lot of what the hell is that? Sure, I'll do it in our early phases of our career. Okay, I'm going to pass the microphone to you. You have known me for so long, my whole career, and even before that, you've worked at multiple jobs with me. So I feel like there is no better person to interview me on my career and the evolution and how I got to where I am today.
All right. I'm so excited. Okay. You've had multiple moments where you thought, I hate marketing. Looking back, what was actually going on?
I think every time I felt like I hated marketing, in retrospect, it actually was just something else going on. So there was many moments where I had either a boss that I really didn't enjoy working for, or I was working at a company that I was just not excited about what we were actually marketing. There was times where the actual type of marketing work I was doing was not aligned. Similar to you, I'm not really the details, rinse, repeat, do the task over and over kind of person. I love variety. I love fast paces. I love being challenged. I really love doing something I've never done before. So I think there was just times I felt like craving a challenge and wondered if I was doing the right thing.
Can you think back to a time where it was a specific, like, I hate marketing?
Oh God, so many. I do remember being at an agency and just thinking, okay, here it is again. I think I was probably midway through my career. And I just remember thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I constantly starting a job, getting 6 months in and then feeling bored, or that feeling where you sit down to do the work you have to do and you're just completely full of dread? And I think I was sitting down to do a content strategy or something, which is funny because I like doing that now. But I think at that point in time, it was a mixture of just not feeling lit up by the types of things I was having to do marketing about, and being in a role at that point where I was leading strategy, but also executing, which is very hard. And that was really draining me.
I feel that so much. So going back in time and down this path, was there ever a point that you ever seriously considered leaving marketing completely?
Yeah, definitely. And I just didn't know what to do. I was like, what skill sets do I have? I remember sitting down and writing out what I love, what I'm good at, and thinking, what can this transfer over to? And I do remember looking for other jobs and trying to expand. I just didn't really know where to look or what to look at. And I did end up taking on a role that was project management, which at the time it was project management in marketing. It felt like a huge change because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I've been in marketing manager, marketing generalist roles for so long. And now I'm going to go do project management. Like, wow, this is so adventurous and crazy and wild. And I ended up hating it, but I gained some really valuable skill sets along the way that to this day really helped me. So that was probably the closest I got to totally leaving marketing.
I think that's so important. You have to try new things to figure out what you don't like to be able to figure out what you do.
It was terrifying. I remember actually specifically one day walking with a friend when I was considering the job offering, and she told me about this quote or this book, something that she had read that really stuck with me and still to this day sticks with me. And she said, you don't have to have the whole plan figured out. Picture a ladder or a staircase. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't have to have every step there. Just take that next best step, like the next thing that feels right for you. So that really was the nudge that I needed to take that leap. And I've really leaned on that concept for my whole career since, and even building this business.
So true. Okay, so you have some experiences. What were some red flags that you ignored in past roles that you now recognize as signs of misalignment?
So many red flags that I ignored. I have done a lot of mindset work in the last few years, and I think I've become so much more self-aware of how things feel to me, the life I want to build, how I want work to feel. And I think I was really ignoring a lot of the signs that my body was giving me at the time and just my own inner thoughts.
What are some questions you ask yourself now when you feel that?
That's a great question. I'm just a lot more in tune to my body. So if I have this tightening of my chest or a gut feeling in my stomach or this breathy feeling that can happen at times, I now spend time and sit with that and reflect and be like, okay, what's actually going on here? What am I feeling? What is the feeling underneath that? And why am I feeling that way? And is that thing I'm thinking true? I really just try to get curious around what's going on and pay attention to that.
Paying attention, it's so important because, again, like you said, you can get caught up in that momentum and just going.
One more red flag was a lot of the decisions I made in my career, I felt like they were shoulds. Like, I should work here. Or I remember staying at Lululemon actually for way longer than I should have. I honestly probably knew a month into my role that I didn't like the role. And I stayed there for over 3 years. And I stayed there because it felt good when people would say to me, wow, you work at Lululemon. I was like, yeah, I've made it. I wanted to work there for 5 years. I relentlessly applied. When I have a goal, it is happening. And I wasn't resting until I got a job there. And so I did. And it was like, oh my God, I can't be a failure and walk away from this. I have to give this a try. And people think it's cool that I work here. And it is cool that I work here. And that was not the right reason to stay. Got into such a terrible mental state by just ignoring my own feelings around that I actually didn't even realize. I think I was severely depressed. Actually, I remember that year before I left Lululemon, I was trying to get pregnant and I had a miscarriage and really struggling to get pregnant again. And I had left, and I remember that being a very hard experience for me. But the next day, feeling this literal weight lift off my chest and off my back and my shoulders, just feeling this relief. And then I got pregnant a week later. So, yeah, can't
Energy,
ignore those signs.
so much space. So, with my own journey, knowing that it wasn't as cut and dry and it's just this like you are curious about something, you follow it. What other turning points do you feel like that was obviously a big one, just knowing that it wasn't aligned, but what other turning points got you from there to where you are now?
Yeah, there's been so many. And I think that ladder or staircase metaphor was really helpful for me. And just letting go of the need to have a plan. Because if I look back at the steps I took from my sort of traditional corporate career to where I am now, it was not straightforward and I did not have clarity really, besides this kind of big vision of what I wanted my life to look like, I knew that I wanted freedom. I knew I wanted flexibility. I knew I wanted to do work that I really liked. And I just stayed grounded in that. And then every time I had a decision or an opportunity, I weighed which one feels like the right path. And I can think of a couple of pivotal moments when I had my first daughter. I was on maternity leave, and I remember just feeling, okay, this is great. It's fun to be on maternity leave, but I'm creatively feeling like I need a bit of an outlet. So I reached out to my friend who was CEO of a nonprofit. I asked, do you have any work? I just need to do something. Blair is napping multiple hours a day, and I'm just sitting here going crazy. So I ended up doing some work for their silent auction at a big event they had coming up, like securing sponsors and whatnot. It was just emailing and a bunch of like administrative work. And that actually ended up leading into a full-time role. And when I took on that role, it was actually COVID, and they were transitioning everything online. I actually had an interesting background and was able to really help with that online transition of delivering programming and education and things like that. That was really fun and interesting. But also, if I were to think too deeply about it, it was a bit of a moment of what is this experience I'm getting here? I don't know that this is the path, quote unquote. And I also took a pay cut working at a nonprofit, but it just felt really right in my bones. I really loved the mission behind what they did. It was a nonprofit charity that supported women entrepreneurs across Canada. I really love the woman who was the CEO, Paulina Cameron. She's a good friend of mine, and I have so much respect for her. And I just really wanted to work with her and for her. It was such a good stepping stone for me, how she thought about work and life integration. I would show up to Zoom meetings sometimes with my daughter, Blair, on my lap when she was not going down for her nap at the right time. And so it was this like baby step into what it might look like and feel like to have a little bit more freedom and flexibility over my life and my schedule. And it was amazing. So yeah, that was definitely one moment. I think the next sort of big moment or nudge that I had was my maternity leave was coming up to go have my second daughter. And I just remember thinking, I want to start my own business. I want to start it while I'm on maternity leave because we're in Canada. We get great maternity leave benefits and why not? But I kept thinking to myself, Jess, that's absolutely insane. You're having a second baby. Like you think you can start a business? That's crazy.
That goal again.
Yeah, 100%. But the voice would not go away. I remember a few months into my maternity leave, I was building my website, packages and stuff. And I'm like, I guess I'm doing this. I should probably let them know I'm not coming back. I remember that being scary too, because I was leaving a job I loved, people that I loved, but I just couldn't ignore this pull. And I actually didn't know what I was going to do. I really didn't. I remember having so many conversations with you and in our group chat with our girls and just saying, should I do this? So I remember being like, maybe I am graphically inclined. Maybe I could do branding. Maybe I could do websites. Maybe I do copywriting. I don't know. I've always been a jack of all trades. So I did not have a plan. I just remember taking the leap and being like, I will figure this out.
And then that again goes back to the journey is just you don't know if you don't take the steps and you can't ignore that call because it's just going to constantly be nudging. And if it doesn't get out of you, it's going to start to show up in other ways.
100%.
So you took the leap, you didn't know what you were doing. And I'm going to tie this one in maybe again, because you probably had signals from what you were doing before. And I just want to touch on one point too about that doing something and not knowing what is this purpose? Why is this doing it for me? And I remember that at the agency that I was at last, I was like, oh, I'm doing so much business development. I don't love it, but it was actually teeing me up to now in my own business, being able to do that. There's just points in your career where you don't realize that the thing you're doing is actually going to be the stepping stone to do the next thing.
100%. Actually, you're making me think I have to introduce this person into the podcast world, the most interesting man in the world. So Jess and I, our very first job when we worked together, this man named Bernd worked there and we loved him so much, still do. He's like a mentor to both of us to this day. He actually trained me on sales. I remember being interested in what he was doing. And I was like, I don't know, I'm in marketing, but can you teach me how to do sales? And I remember at the time being like, this is fun. And it totally comes in handy now.
How did you start figuring out what you actually loved doing? So I know you've done that in what you're doing now. How did you keep tabs on that through all of the things that you did as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. It wasn't really very straightforward. And I think it took me a lot of years to figure out what I actually really liked. And it took a lot of trying things. I've always been the kind of person that wants to learn new things and will put myself forward to do things differently. I had a lot of different jobs despite my grandma's concerns. She worked at a bank her whole entire career, I think 40 years or something, the same bank, doing the same job. I remember her saying to me, honey, you're jumping around jobs a lot. Are you sure about that? And just like gently trying to be like, what the fuck are you doing? And I remember too being like, what's wrong with me? Why am I always looking for something new and fresh? And I think that through having all of those different experiences and working in a fast paced startup and a smaller company and a massive company with big budgets and agencies, I really got a taste of lots of different environments, lots of different areas of marketing. And it was really great for me to figure out what I loved and what I didn't like.
You're starting to hone in. You've listened to that call. You've taken a leap. I totally remember this stage of I'm going to do branding. I'm going to do Squarespace sites. I'm doing this for all these different businesses. You definitely didn't just fall into becoming a fractional CMO, but starting to do that work. How did it change the way you feel about marketing now?
It really changed it because I think it was such an unlock for me and a realization. So all through my career, I really loved just marketing in general. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what is wrong with me? I feel like I need to specialize in something. Maybe I need to go learn paid ads, or I need to learn social media really deeply, or email marketing or something like that. But I just wasn't really drawn to one thing. I remember thinking, what am I even good at? I don't know. I'm just a generalist. Like I remember saying when I started this business, to you, to my husband, is there a job that I can just come in and be someone's kind of part-time marketing director where I can just create marketing strategy and lead their team? And I don't want to execute. I don't want to write anything. I don't want to design anything. I don't want to be fiddling in the back of analytics tools. I just want to set the strategy and lead the team and make sure it gets great results. And when I found the term fractional CMO, it was just such a game changer for me. I was so excited. I remember seeing it and being like, yes, like it exists. This is exactly what I've been talking about and exactly what I want to do. And I feel like for me, it was this unlock in my mind of, okay, there's nothing actually wrong with me. I am a strategist. I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a marketing leader. And it felt like I'd finally found my proverbial career home, I guess you could say.
That's so true. I remember between jobs, a recruiter telling me, you need to specialize in email campaigns because I had worked similar to you, like smaller organizations. And it's such a reminder that the advice somebody's giving you is often something that they were told, or it's just like a play by book. You just have to follow what calls you because you're going to find the thing. And yeah, we need generalists. It's a superpower because you had all those different experiences. You're able to then see and execute across that top.
Yeah.
Good for listening to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like they were really pushing that at that time of our careers, like really just specializing. And it just, yeah, felt that was what I had to do.
Yeah. We see you, non-specialists. We
Yeah.
see you. Okay, so now you're a few years in and life looks very differently now than those early days of what the hell am I going to do? I've just discovered fractional CMO. What's the biggest difference now in how you work than back then when you were feeling stuck?
Oh, there's so many. I think that now I work with clients that I love. So the work feels amazing. I only do strategy and leadership. I never have those days where I'm like, ugh, I have to do this. I can't tell you the last time I felt like that about work. And then I have so much time freedom. Being a mom of two, being creative entrepreneur, I really like the flexibility over my schedule and being able to take a Friday to work on my own business or completely take the day off and go skiing when you're in town or do whatever I want with my schedule. That part I just really love. And I feel just so much more energized and motivated and creative. And it just feels like there's so much more possibility for me now. Something that was such a big shift that I did not anticipate whatsoever was when I started this business, I ended up stumbling into finding a mindset coach. And that's a story for another time. But it just changed my life so much that I don't feel the way I felt when I felt stuck because I've really shifted my mindset around so much since starting this business.
Oh, I think stepping into entrepreneurship is like a launch pad into personal development.
It sure is.
So, for those who are wondering, how do I get here? How do I do this? What were some of the biggest fears that you had when you first started stepping into this role? So, we know it's not all, yeah, I just launched and I had all these clients and it was amazing.
Oh
We know
God,
there's a
no.
lot behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
So much behind the scenes, imposter syndrome, everything, you name it. I didn't hold a CMO title before doing this. I had led marketing, but not in a formal CMO role. So that certainly gave me imposter syndrome. I remember thinking, am I qualified to do this? And then the other thing I think, as far as fears, was that I still had this doubt in me around, do I know enough? And I think through doing this role now for the last 4 years, I've really learned when it comes to my knowledge and my superpower, I'm really great at being able to like zoom in and zoom out. So what I mean by that is I can zoom way out, analyze a company, look at their marketing strategy and figure out right away where they need to be focusing. And then I'm also super detail oriented. So I know about the small things that really make an impact and take marketing from being just so to great. And so that's my superpower. And I really stay in my lane. And when it comes to not knowing enough, I've gotten really good at building up my sort of like suite of experts around me. So I know just enough about every area of marketing to be dangerous and when I need to recommend it, when I don't. But I pull in my experts and I will say to my clients, oh, I don't deeply know that. Take analytics and tracking, for example. You could say, Jess, I'm going to pay you $1 million to set up my Google Analytics. And I wouldn't know. There's ChatGPT, so I could figure it out. But I don't know how to do it. I know when a company needs it. I know what we need to pull from it. I know how to analyze the data, but I'm not the technical expert in the back end doing it. It's just about surrounding yourself with the right people. And when I'm working with clients, making sure that they have the right people in the right seats, or we're pulling in contractors whenever we need to that work in those functional expert or specialist spaces.
Yeah, that's such a good one. And you don't have to do it all. That is the purpose of a leadership position, is finding the right people to do the right things.
Totally.
All right. So we might have some folks wondering, hey, I think I hate marketing too, but maybe they actually also do have a call to stay in it. So if someone wanted to stay in marketing, but change how they're working. So again, let's think of maybe somebody who was forced to specialize, but they know that's not the thing. What's the first thing that they should do?
The first thing I would say, do an inventory, like journal exercise of spending a week keeping awareness around what's really lighting you up and what's draining you and getting super clear on it. Then I would do a visioning exercise. So map out like, what does your ideal day or week look like? How do you want to spend your time? And get super specific. I remember having a conversation with somebody last year and she was like, I hate meetings. And I'm like, Lynn, don't do them. We can really shape our careers and our businesses and our lives around what we want. So get very clear on what you want, not what you feel is possible, what you want. And so I think having that vision, having clarity around what you love, and then think to yourself, how can I take baby steps right now? We don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater and go quit your stable 9 to 5 with no way to pay your mortgage. But how can you take baby steps? Maybe you take on a little side project. Maybe if you are a freelancer, you've got a business, you're not dumping all your clients and ditching your offers, but you're starting to say, oh, I actually now offer this, and dipping a toe in and seeing how it feels, because you also have to try things out and not be afraid to be bad your first time or try it and not like it and change your mind. We only get over indecision by acting and trying things.
Yes, so true. It's a constant evolution.
Yeah.
I'm starting to dabble in different realms and I thought I'd be taking a completely different direction. You just step in and you keep stepping. All right. What are the biggest signs that someone doesn't actually hate marketing, but they just hate their current role? So we talked about how they can change and explore it, but what are some of those things that you remember about yourself when it was like, hey, you don't actually hate it?
Yeah, I think pay attention to, okay, is it actually this work or is it this work in this context? So you're going to have to ask yourself like multiple layers of questions. So I'm hating this activity right now. Why? Is it because I'm not excited about the product I'm marketing? Is it because my boss is a jerk? Is it because I don't like this client and they're demanding? Is it because I'm not paid enough and I feel resentful? Try to get to the bottom of it. Or it really and truly could be that you just don't enjoy it. But often there are other reasons. I've had some great sounding boards. My coach, just to talk about this with, and they have helped me and asked me some prompting questions. So pull in a friend, pull in a counselor, a coach, whoever, if you need to have a sounding board and have these conversations out loud and really get to the bottom of, okay, you're not liking this, but why?
All right. Last question. If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing about navigating your career, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would say to have faith and keep taking the steps. I would say there's nothing wrong with you. You're worthy, and I love you.
It'd be really similar. Trust the process. I think that's one
Mm.
thing that I've learned so much is it can feel like chaos. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know if you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong, but I just trust that all of a sudden it comes together. Eventually it just magically makes sense. And don't be afraid. What I really learned is it's like excitement without the breath. So it's that anticipation. It's, oh shit, I'm doing this. I'm stepping into the unknown, especially when you're taking that leap into working for yourself. It's scary. Again, it's like glamorized and people make it look so easy, but there's so much behind the scenes that go on that isn't shared. So just that's the anticipation. But once you actually get into it, it's not as scary. And you realize that by actually doing it, don't be afraid to try too. Because if you don't try
100%.
it, you're never going to know. And you can always go back again. If you're going from, say, being a marketer or whatever to trying a different role, like you did project management or I went into strategy, you can always go back.
Yeah, it's like asking yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen here? You always have that safety net to go back to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, this conversation has been so good. Such a good reminder that when you feel stuck in your career, it's not always about hating marketing. It's about figuring out what's not working and making a shift, whether that means redefining your role, changing the kind of work you do, or like Jess, pivoting into something totally different. There's no one right plan. Trust the process. So if you're listening and you're feeling burnt out or questioning your next step, take a minute to ask yourself, do I actually hate marketing, or do I just hate the way I'm doing it right now? That question changed everything for me. Jess, thank you so much for being here and flipping the mic on me today. Before we go, where can people connect with you?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jessica Turner. The link will be in the show notes. And then you can find me on Instagram, jessica.a.turner. That's where I share most of my personal stuff. Or I've also got Solo Strategy. So you can find me there on Instagram.
Amazing. So if you're building a fractional CMO business and you don't want to waste years figuring it out the hard way, Fractional CMO School is open for enrollment, and we'll give you the step-by-step roadmap that I used to build my business to 6 figures in 6 months and then $1 million per year with a small team of 2. There's expert coaching, one-on-one support, and whether you are an aspiring fractional CMO or you're growing, you're trying to figure out how to scale your team or do the role in a way that doesn't lead to burnout, it is a great fit for you. And you can learn more at thecmooffice.com. If you love this episode today, here is what I would love from you. Take 30 seconds to rate and review the show. It helps more marketers and CMOs find this content. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're going to implement any of this or you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in my DMs on Instagram. I would love to support you. And thank you for listening. I will see you next week.